Hello, everyone. Back again for the final screencast in Chapter 8. We're just going to do a quick application to a problem that we raised very early on, practically the first day or the first week of class. It was looking at birth in the United States. So remember the data frame birth 78 that comes from the Mosaic Data package. Let's get some help on it and look at a view of it as well. So we'll head to our studio and question mark birth 78 pops up here in the help corner. Day-by-day record of the number of births in the United States in 1978. Every row is a day in 1978, so there's these 365 rows. And there's various information recorded about each day. Let's go ahead and look at this in the view. Births, 1978. So we have a variable for the actual date. We have a variable for how many babies were born in United States hospitals on that day. We have the day of the week it was, Mon, Tues, Wed, Thur, Fry, Sat, Sun. What year it was, that's uninteresting, it's always 1978. We have the number of the month, we have the number day of the year from 1 to 365, the number day of the month out of the month, the number day of the week it is, and so on. Okay, back to the slides. So we made a scatter plot in that first chapter, and at that point we didn't understand ggplot code, but now we can. Our data set is birth 78, and we're making a frame where X position is mapped to the date and Y position is mapped to the births, and a geome point. So we're making basically a scatter plot of number of births against day of the year. We're nicely labeling the axes and providing a kind of a neutral title and heading off. And this is the plot that we looked at. And what was kind of interesting about it was that there were these two distinct clouds of points. They both cycle in the way that you would expect. You expect a higher number of births kind of in the fall, because that's about 9 months after the winter months, and more babies are conceived in winter months due to people being at home and closer to each other and making babies more. And there are fewer babies born in, the spring months, because the 9 months before that would be summertime when people are out and about, not at home having sex, I guess. But the curious thing is why there's two clouds that are cycling in that same way. What's up with this lower cloud of points, days when there's a lot less births? So we had some speculations about it, and I think we can now nail that down. Let's see if the births depend on the day of the week. So we have that W day variable, Mon, Tues, Wed, Thur, and so on. We'll map X position to that, and Y position to births when we make our frame, and make some violin plots with individual jittered points as well for each day. And so what we see is that on Sundays and on Saturdays, the births are significantly fewer than on days of the week. And that sort of makes sense, because babies come when they're going to come most of the time. But sometimes the birth is actually scheduled, like maybe it's going to be a C-section. And so then you actually make an appointment with the OB as to when the birth is going to take place. And the OB is like other people, he's going to want to have the weekend off if possible. So he or she will maybe try to schedule you on a Monday through a Friday, Similarly, if the OB is making some decision about whether to bring the pregnancy on if you're well overdue to try to induce you, uh, then she might decide to induce you on a Monday rather than on the Saturday or the Sunday. You know. So we would expect somewhat fewer births on a weekend. So why don't we make a new variable that says whether or not a day is a weekend day? What we'll do is the with function here, the first argument is birth 78, and that means that this next expression, the if-else, is going to be evaluated where the first place you go to look up names for things is in the birth 78 data set. And so this Boolean condition in the if-else, weekday in Saturday, Sunday, the W day will be looked for inside of birth 78 and be found there. And anyway, if the W day is either Saturday or Sunday, then you say weekend, otherwise you say weekday. That new character vector is going to come in as weekend, and we arrange in the second line of code that there'll be a new variable in birth 78 called weekend, and it simply is that weekend vector that we just created. Having added that new column to birth 78, we make it the data argument in our call to ggplot, and again we make our scatter plot. But this time we aesthetically map color of point to that new weekend variable. So what we get is that this upper cloud consists entirely of weekday points. The lower cloud consists almost entirely of weekend days, Saturdays and Sundays. There are a few exceptions. There are a few of these reddish days down in the lower cloud. And you might wonder, like, what's up with them? So you can investigate them. Why not just take a little subset of birth 78 where the number of births is less than 8,500. What I'm doing is trying to pick a number, and 8,500 seems to separate out all of the red points that are in the lower cloud. And I want the weekend variable to not be equal to the weekend string so that I am in the Saturday, Sunday. So I'm in the Monday through Friday days. So this condition here is capturing those red points that I saw. And I only want to look at these columns. And so here are my Monday through Friday days that got into that lower cloud. And what I get is in month 1, day 2, oh, so that's January 2nd. So if January 1st were to say fall on a weekend in 1978, then January 2nd would tend to be treated as a holiday, and so people would be trying to take it off. Month 5, day 29 is Memorial Day. Month 7, day 4 is July 4th. Month 9, day 4 is Labor Day. And here is Thanksgiving, and here is Christmas. So all of these are major holidays that happened to occur during the day of the week, and thus OBs and health professionals are trying to avoid them when it comes to the scheduled births. So the mystery is now completely solved with the help of investigations in ggplot2. That's all for now. See you again soon.